The much-awaited intra-Afghan talks have started. It is a very important part of the peace process and to bring about peace in the region. But there are a lot of questions. How is it going to move forward? If the Taliban are in the fray and are mainstreamed, what will be the future of Afghanistan and what will be the future of the region? To discuss and talk a little more on this is Dr. Abdullah Abdullah. He's the chairman of the High Council for National Reconciliation in Afghanistan on a visit to India. Many thanks for joining us here on India Today, Dr. Abdullah. Very important meetings with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, National Security Advisor Doval, and External Affairs Minister Jaishankar. There are a lot of areas that India also might have wanted covered when it comes to your talks with the Taliban. What are the areas that India really was interested in? Were there concerns that India raised, and what are those concerns?
First of all, throughout those meetings, what was the spirit which was prevailing was the spirit of continued support for the people of Afghanistan and for the decision made by the people of Afghanistan, and to whatever solution that the people is acceptable for the people of Afghanistan, supporting that. That was the spirit of the talks that we had. There is no doubt insecurity, instability in Afghanistan has had its impact in the past as well on the whole region, including India. And a stable Afghanistan will also be an opportunity for everybody. So it was under that spirit that shared my own views about the current situation, the prospects, the hurdles on the way, the impasses, the hopes of the people of Afghanistan, in all of that. And in fact, India's position, Afghan-led, Afghan-owned and Afghan-controlled negotiations, that's something that is exactly what we want, and we have endorsed the people of Afghanistan already. And on that basis, we discussed how every country could contribute, and India participated in the inauguration of the negotiations. India will be participating in other forums when it is for the support of the peace or peaceful settlement in Afghanistan, and it was under that context that we talked.
Dr. Abdullah, India has always supported an Afghan-led and Afghan-owned process. For many of you who do not really know or have not delved in Afghanistan's history, Dr. Abdullah Abdullah played a very important role in the resistance to the Taliban. Today you sit across the table negotiating with the Taliban. In that, what is your own thinking on how the Taliban is going to really come and be mainstreamed within Afghanistan when ideologies don't match, Dr. Abdullah?
One thing is very clear. I have been a firm believer right from the beginning, even during the resistance against the Taliban. And late Ahmad Shah Massoud, which I was working with him, was our leader, late Professor Rabbani. Both are martyred now. They also tried to find a peaceful settlement with the Taliban. And I had negotiated, even at that time, in late 90s with the Taliban, based on the belief that there is no winner in the war. Already at that time, in late 90s, 20 years had passed since the start of the war in Afghanistan. I do also believe that there are no losers in an inclusive, peaceful settlement. When we look at the suffering of our people, which continues and has continued for 4 decades or over 4 decades, that situation should come to an end through peaceful ways, in peaceful means. Yes, ideas are far apart. Can we agree to live in the same territory, under the same system, while maintaining different ideas and fighting for those ideas peacefully? in through civil means, not through resorting to violence. That's the aim. The aim is not to converge one side into another, which might not happen, but hopefully we have learned the basic lesson out of 42 years of war, that there is no winner in war. And the second thing is that people have made sacrifices for their rights. Taliban also have fought for their ideals, but there will be no end to this fighting if we do not try to find another solution.
But one important aspect of the Afghan society today is women's rights. The role women have started playing in Afghanistan. 27% of your parliament consists of women. There are a lot of them who work while respecting and embracing their religion, have shunned maybe the veil system, which is something that the Taliban absolutely would not agree on. Where do women's rights then stand, in your opinion, when you negotiate with the Taliban? Because that's a concern that India has raised.
And that's the concern also that the people of Afghanistan are raising. The women of Afghanistan and men in Afghanistan. It's the women's rights is part of our constitution, but perhaps equally important, it's the achievement as a result of a lot of sacrifices from the people of Afghanistan. And so are the certain other liberties, like freedom of speech. 40 years back, I remember what sort of Afghanistan it was when things just started with the coup d'etats. The newscaster which announced the arrest of some of the members of that coup d'etat, next day disappeared, and we didn't hear it since then about him, which was one famous person with a good voice, and then disappeared because only his job was he was working in national radio, and then made the announcement which was given to him, and then he lost his life because of that. That situation has changed and evolved, and everybody should accept that there are certain changes, especially in the past 20 years, which are not reversible. That's what I mentioned earlier, that with different ideas, different opinions, different outlook of the world, how can we live together in peace? And at the same time, it should be a fair playing ground for everybody to contest for their ideas. And
Absolutely.
let the people decide.
Is that a red line for your government, that you will not allow Taliban to cross?
I'm overseeing the negotiations there, and red line for us is the never-ending war in continuation of the agony of the people in the nation, which too many men and women suffer, will continue to suffer based on that. At the same time, the sacrifices that the people of Afghanistan have made, the achievement that they have, if anybody wants to reverse it, it just will not happen. Right. It could not happen. And peace will not materialize by discriminating against half of the population. It doesn't mean peace. So our values, our principles are very clear.
I will talk about India and what India is really looking at, or what you're looking at with India in terms of the conversations. But do you see a shift in how India has approached the entire negotiations or engagement with the Afghan side? Are they looking at you or members of the Northern Alliance, the erstwhile Northern Alliance, as their traditional partners now? Because we know that for a very long period of time, they were engaging the Afghan government and only the government. Now, are they looking at the larger picture of, if the Taliban returns, if there is resistance, that face of that resistance could very well be General Dostum, who was here, you, and a few others from the Northern Alliance?
India will continue to engage the government of Afghanistan. The High Council for National Reconciliation is also part of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, and it's the legitimate government of the country. and India will continue to engage the government and also politicians outside the government. That's also with the history of India's support to the people of Afghanistan. That may be the, I wouldn't call it a new feature in their politics, but a new energy in engaging broader public in Afghanistan or people which represent the people there, different constituencies. But the principle of supporting the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan in inclusive, peaceful settlement is something that everybody has appreciated when it comes to the policy of India.
Do you, or in your conversations, have you looked at India engaging the Taliban as well for more lasting peace in the region? Is that a conversation that took place?
It was more on the general aspect of the engagement. India will be playing a role amongst the forces which will be there with other partners of us in the region and beyond. That will continue. And I'm, in terms of advising other governments, I'm a bit cautious, and that was, I did not raise that.
But you have been engaging other governments. You were in Pakistan end of September, you're
Yes.
here. What is the idea of engaging Pakistan, India at this point in time? Because we do know that India has its own concerns when it comes to Pakistan and Pakistan's role in peace in Afghanistan.
Well, I heard the same thing, peaceful settlement, inclusive peaceful settlement in Afghanistan. That was the statements made when I was there in Pakistan. And during that visit was also very extensive. I met with the political leadership, Prime Minister Imran Khan, and security defense establishment of Pakistan, civil society, ulamas, all together. And that was what I heard from everybody. I know the status of relations between different countries, that I'm aware of that. But I do believe that in peaceful, stable Afghanistan, everybody has a stake.
But do you trust the Pakistanis?
It's the issue that you continue to engage, you interact, you continue to try to work together. For us, peace in Afghanistan and peaceful settlement of the situation in Afghanistan is a topmost priority. And I left Pakistan with positive impressions. And that's politicians in different capitals, they talking differently. I'm not that sort of politicians. I left with positive impressions, and but everybody has a role, and then the people of Afghanistan will see, will judge what happens based on the actions taken, and that will be that is before us, and so that's one part of it. I'll be traveling to other parts of the region as well, because based on that one important basic principle, that unstable Afghanistan, Afghanistan at war, could impact all the countries around Afghanistan in the region, and vice versa.
Did India raise the issue of terrorism, cross-border terrorism, terrorism emanating from Pakistan, and the fact that they harbor or continue to provide safe havens to elements that are inimical to the interests of Afghanistan and India alike?
We talked about the issue of Afghanistan, instability in the terrorist groups using Afghanistan soil against other countries, including India. In our talks were contained to the issues of bilateral relations, and we know it's important for every country, especially India, that tomorrow peaceful Afghanistan is not a threat, or there is no terrorist threat emanating from Afghanistan. against India, and that's a legitimate concern based on what had happened in the past. That has been raised. We have discussed different aspects of it. We also, when we negotiate with the Taliban, we don't want Afghanistan that, okay, there is an agreement with the Taliban, then Al Qaeda, ISIS, all the other terrorist groups are freelancing there for a long time to come. That's not peace. That does not mean peace. Peace means Afghanistan free of the scourge of the terrorist groups.
Would that also mean ridding assurances from Pakistan of ridding their country of these terror elements?
As I mentioned, it was based on our bilateral relations, issues that countries have between themselves. They will raise it. With one another, and as a whole, terrorist groups do not serve any country's legitimate interest. That's if there is one lesson in the past 40 years, on top of what I mentioned earlier, that's my firm belief.
Another important country, before I let you go, I have to ask you
That's the last question.
Is China. Development partnership, India plays a very important role, but so does China. In the entire security and stability of the region, what kind of a role do you see China really play over here? And how do you see the border tensions that we see between India and China play out with vis-a-vis Afghanistan? Because every country has a play in the region. And if there are two countries, big powers, who are not as friendly as they used to be, would that impact Afghanistan?
A general answer perhaps later on, but at the same time, India has helped Afghanistan big deal in reconstruction of Afghanistan, and also in many ways. Nearly $3 billion of assistances, while India is not one of those conventional donor countries otherwise. But that's appreciated, and so are all aspects of their support. China also has played an important role, positive role, I should say, in regards to Afghanistan. As a country which has been at war for 42 years, we know that different situations between different countries has impact on us as well. But for example, the Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the United States, they have serious issues amongst themselves. Can we say that it will not have any impact on us? It does. So any tension anywhere in this region and broader region will have an impact, but hopefully Afghanistan will be able to raise from what has been there for the past 42 years, 2 years, and expect a positive contribution from all countries.
If you allow me another question, Dr. Abdullah, this is on U.S. troop withdrawal. The United States of America, President Trump himself has announced withdrawal of troops by December. What does that really mean for security in Afghanistan? Are you looking at India to any security cooperation? And does Afghanistan and Afghan forces, do you have the wherewithal to handle the security situation should a situation arise without American troops?
In regards to what has been announced, the details are not given as of yet, and are not available to us. So our information is also limited to media reports and what we just had it as a tweet. Whether this refers to, this is a reference to the withdrawal of the troops, which is already taking place, and by November it will be completed, and 4,500 will be left beyond November in Afghanistan. Is it in that context, or it's a new situation? And whatever that is, eventually, I'm not talking about this month or next month, Afghanistan should be able to stand on its own feet. And it will require support from different countries. What sort of shape and type it will have, it will depend on the future circumstances.
On that note, Dr. Abdullah Abdullah, many thanks for joining us here in India today.
You're welcome. Thank you.